Okay, on to the next track in Sammy's Skull Serenade. People are cutting grass outside my office, which is destroying my soul, but hopefully this will cancel out a little bit and you won't be able to hear too much of it. But once the music starts playing, you won't be able to hear it at all. Anyway, here is another band that I've never heard of in my life. 10 years. Never heard of this band, ever, in my life. So this is brand new to the channel, right? This is The Shift. This is the next track on the Skull Serenade series. And yeah, let's see what we've got over here. This is completely and utterly brand new to the channel. For those of you who want a bit more details on the custom series product that we're offering, like this one over here, link is in the pinned comments and you can go and take a look at that. Let's rock and roll. 10 years, The Shift. Let's go. Please excuse my cough.
I didn't feel the change, but don't feel the same. I never knew a shift was happening. The scenery just seemed to be stuck on repeat. All of my memories are just a colorful blur. Feels like I'm falling in reverse.
Hey.
In the art of war, what are we fighting for? We go from silence to sirens.
Hey, fire, bro. Fire, bro. The instrumentation in this is absolutely insane. Feels like I'm falling in reverse, but that line ties into all of my memories. One are just a colorful blur. So, you know, all these memories of his childhood and everything is just a blur to him, right? Because the world is changing so drastically. A song that probably works quite well for today, if you're talking about the shift in society and the shift in the political order and the shift in the corruption and everything, right? And it's like where he talks about the art of war, which I think is very, very clever, the way he played into that. Where is it really an art? Who knows? But let's just play this again.
Feels like I'm falling in reverse.
I like this line particularly because it feels like he's falling in the present, but he's falling in reverse because his mind is set in the past, right? So it's almost like there's this major shift happening and he's not quite caught up to it. So he feels like because he can't catch up with it, it feels like he's falling and he's falling into the past, which I think is very cool.
In the art of war, what are we fighting for?
Good question, man. In the art of war, what are we fighting for? In the last, I don't know, 50? Since World War II, right? Outside of the Cold War, maybe. What is? Let's talk about America. Let's talk about the empire building that is the United States. The empire builder that is the United States. What have they fought for? What have they fought for? What have they won? Put it that way, right? The art of war, right? All the sophisticated machinery and all the sophisticated weapons and all this money burnt and spent on all of this type of thing. What? Vietnam? What did you fight for? Nothing. Lost. Iraq? A war you should have never been engaged in. At all. Well, destabilize the thing, bombed the fuck out of it, and just left. Destabilize Syria, destabilize Libya, destabilize Afghanistan. I mean, we can go on. How many countless coups? All of it. This is all the art of war, man. This is what we were told. This is what we were told by Hollywood. The good, powerful, amazing America. And I always only speak about the political order because I've said before, people in the politics is very, 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 very different. The American people deserve a better system. And I'm speaking specifically of America because they are the global empire. They are the global hegemony at the moment. They are the guys that run the fucking world at the end of the day. And they're the guys that are turning to very evil, nefarious things at the moment within their own society, right? So yes, you know, everyone's talking about like, oh, we got to get, someone's got to save us from Russia and China and all of these countries and whatever else. Okay, but who saves us from America? Who saves us from an empire that's got this amount of influence? Who saves us from an empire that has gone completely corrupt? Who saves the world from that? You know what I mean? That's why it's unbelievably dangerous for the United States to go in the direction that they're going in. Oh, that they have been going in for the past couple of years. It hasn't just happened. It's been happening for years. This corruption has been creeping in. It's just been happening for years. You know what I mean? What are we fighting for? What is there? What are most of the wars, most of the modern day wars fought by America? What were those wars for? What was those like lives lost for? For what? What? For 20 years later, after $1 trillion spent to give the country that you took over back to the very people that caused 9/11, right at the end of all of that? That's what you did it for? Right? To give the country back to the people that caused 9/11? Was that all that? Or was that just a 20-year campaign to maintain a war that makes you money? That's just the way society has gone. And obviously they're degrading society, and it's not just wars abroad, it's not just foreign policy, it's actually within their own borders, within their domestic regions. Everyone hates each other. It's a war on ideology, it's a war on absolutely everything. It's a war, it's a Western civil war, it almost feels, an ideological civil war. And it's an ideological war on countries that don't speak to those ideologies, they don't like those ideologies, they don't want those ideologies, right? And it needs to be forced on them. The very people who are very against colonialism are the ones who are now imposing ideological colonialism on countries that don't want it. Countries don't want your ideals. Other countries don't want your hedonism. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not talking about the American people, because the majority of the American people feel the exact same way. I'm talking about from the political order, right? And the elitists that are currently running the United States at the moment, that are trying to push their ideology on everybody else, but yet they speak so fervently on how terrible colonialism is. But when other people say, listen, we don't want this, we're not big on this ideology, thank you very much, you can take it out of here, right? No, that's got to be changed. That's got to be toppled. That country's racist. That country's homophobic. That country's this. That country's that. Know what I mean? You have to take our ideology, or you can't exist. You have to be cancelled. You have to take it. Ideological colonialism coming from the very people who hate colonialism. Something that's actually fucking frightening. Unbelievable. Carry on.
We go from silence to sirens without a space between.
Hey.
We are a violent virus without a remedy. In a wild lust, we've opened up a whole.
We are a violent virus without a remedy. Now, I don't know, philosophically, if you want to speak about that in terms of humanity being a silent virus on the planet. I get what they're saying with regards to today's time, but if you actually think about today's time, it's like, if you think about just 100 years ago, just go back 100 years, go back 120 years, right? This is not so far back, right? People lived far worse. The planet has severely, unbelievably improved. I'm talking about people, animal, what we've done for the ecosystem, blah, 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 blah. Outside of, yes, I know, the carbon emissions and shit like that. You know what I mean? But before, none of that, no one ever cared. There were no regulations on anything, right? In the industrial era, you just fucking went. Early 1900s, you just did what you did. There was no regulations on anything. You could use animals for you could test on animals willingly. There were no laws against it. So we have progressed dramatically, right? There has never been a better time to live on this earth than right now, right? Point me to a time in history that you would rather go back to. Point me to a time in history that you think was better, right? From every single perspective, from a technological perspective, from a medicine perspective, from an average life expectancy perspective, from a legal perspective, from a human rights perspective, from a racial justice perspective. Point me to a time that is better than right now. Like, there is none. There is none. We've always been, if you're going to talk about humanity being a virus, we were far worse a virus 100, 200, 300, 400 years ago than we are today. You know what I mean? I think just today there's a much broader, greater population that's consuming more, and the thing is that our consumerism is kind of like backfired on ourselves. And It's backfired basically on ourselves. This notion that it's oh no, we need to save the planet, right? He's kind of alluding to the fact that we're a virus on the planet, but it's like, but the planet can get rid of viruses like that. If you think that that's what we are, right? If we're the virus on the planet, right, and we're causing all of this destruction, right, and we're doing all of that, the planet will get rid of us. The planet has suffered way worse than us, way worse than us. Right, tectonic plate shifting, meteors, asteroids, ice ages. It has suffered way worse than us. Do you know what I mean? It'll shake us off like a fucking bad case of fleas, man. The hubris to think that we, little old us that can't even save ourselves, can save the entire planet. Please give me a fucking break. Give me a break. We fucked. Yeah, sure. If we don't change things, we're done. Like, humanity's fucked, okay? But once we're gone, the planet will self-correct itself. The atmosphere will get back. Will fix itself. It's a natural self-correcting system. And for us to think that the Earth is gonna end unless we sign off on policies, you know what I mean? No, humanity might end, right? Sure, I can attest to that. But the planet, nah, please give me a break.
Set to self-destruct. My innocence just seemed to be slipping away. All that we've managed to make is just a comfortable cage.
Hey, that's actually very cool. I actually like that. That is a very cool. I like this song. I'm loving this song because it actually opens up discussion. But all that we managed to make is just a comfortable cage, 100%. And the corporate elites and the political elites and all the elitists know that. They know that, right? They created the cage for you, and it's a cage of screens. It's a cage of screens that you're addicted to, right? And when you're stuck to those cage of screens and there's no meaning to existence and all of that, they've got pharmaceuticals to make you better, right? So all of this, it literally is capitalism on steroids. It's consumerism on steroids, right? And we've gotten too comfortable in it. Right? And that's why it's so much harder for anybody to rise up today, because fuck, do I really want to go to the streets and go up against the system, or I can just chill at home and get a paycheck from the government and watch Netflix? Right? Majority of people are going to be like, it's the Napoleon line. You know what I mean? Even if the fucking politicians are terrible, it doesn't actually matter. Napoleon even said, if you Napoleon had a statement where he says, if you've lost their ears, best you be holding bread, right? Because you can control a population that way. It doesn't actually matter, right? Even if people don't like you, if people think that you're terrible, if you've completely lost their ears, they're not even willing to listen to you anymore. If you are able to hand them the bare minimum that they can put food on their table, majority of the population won't rise up. The majority of the population won't rise up. You know what I mean? They're not going to go and make themselves uncomfortable when they can. I'll be just fine doing with this kind of thing. I don't really want to be uncomfortable and risk the only thing that I'm currently getting at the moment is a little bit of food on my table. Do I want to risk that? Do I want to go up against the system? And that's that. That's why we are built into these cages, and the politicians know that.
Oh God, I gotta get out of this place. In the art of war. What are we fighting for? We go from silence to sirens.
Hey, it's crazy how quickly that happens, going from silence to sirens, because that's what happens, right? It's the majority staying quiet, and staying quiet. The tensions are still building. You can actually see what's happening in society at the moment, specifically in the Western world. Tensions are building. Tensions are building. Everybody hates their neighbor. All this division is being sowed by the politicians and the elites. You know, you have to hate your neighbor, not the vile, ridiculous people that do absolutely nothing for you up on the hill. They are the ones that your ire should be focused on, but they tell you no, hate your neighbor because your neighbor likes this guy. Your neighbor's politics doesn't suit your politics, therefore your neighbor's evil, right? And what do we do like stupid little sheep? Oh, yeah, MAGA, red hat, stupid liberal, that's what we do. That's what we do. And what do the politicians do? They sit up on the hill saying, ha, perfect. Perfect. 100%. Right? And that builds up, and that builds up, and that builds up, and it goes from silence, where it breaks into sirens. Eventually, there's chaos. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what happens. They've sowed all of this, and when they sow that, it's divide and conquer. It's the oldest trick in the book.
We are a violent virus without a remedy. Art, war, what are we fighting for? Art, war.
It's interesting that he actually says that art, war, what are we fighting for? I'd say both. War comes because of art. Because how do you control the masses? Controlling the masses, what's the most important thing to any society? What is the most important thing to a culture? Is its rituals, its ideals, its artistic forms, and its culture. So it's basically, that is all of it. That's why when the colonialists like took over Africa, it stole all of its art, right? It stole everything that was culturally attached to the people. Right? Because then the people have nothing to attach themselves to. They have to attach themselves to a system that's been put in place for them. And that valuable culture and art then gets put on display in European countries. And it's like, oh, look, these are the prized possessions of that kind of thing. So we go to war for culture. We go to war for values and ideals, right? And even though we might not agree with the values and ideals, we're happy to steal what belongs to others, what their rituals and their artistry and all of that, because that's what the culture is. That's what the culture is. That is what is most significant to any population, right? Because art and culture is what defines people, right? It's their ideas. It's their rituals, their beliefs, their art forms that defines them. That is who they are, right? If you strip them of that, then those people have nothing but to conform to a system. Do you know what I mean? Because they've got nothing. All of that's been stripped of them, right? But those ideals and that kind of thing are beautiful things. So that's why politicians and all these conquering people want to take that and want to control that, right? Because by controlling that, you control the people. You know what I mean? It's the carrot and the stick story at the end of the day. So that's why all these politicians, right, the smart ones, go for the culture. They go for the culture. So how do you play? How do you play into a new narrative, a new agenda, and a new ideology, right? What do you target first? You target the heart of the culture. You target Hollywood. And if Hollywood changes their ideals, and if Hollywood starts putting out your narrative, and Hollywood starts putting out your agenda, right? You're basically in the heart of the culture over there, and that's how you start changing. And then from there, it goes into the schools, and from there, it goes into the art forms. The movies start changing, the songs start changing. Right? The technocrats get involved in that as well. And the technology companies and the media agencies start to push that agenda as well. Right? And then they sort of like make that agenda cool through the culture, because people are very attached to the culture. It's very much like a religion in a sense, right? That is their ritual of, there's Western rituals, that kind of thing. And people are very attached to that kind of thing. So if you target that first, right? And you start to tamper with all of that, right? It only takes a generation, 2 generations, and you've changed the thought process within society. Do you know what I mean? So the war that we're fighting is the war on art, because art is culture and culture are people.
What are we dying for? Art, war, what are we fighting for? Art, war, what are we dying for? We go from silence to sirens.
Hey.
Without a space between. We are a violent virus without a remedy. We are a violent virus without a remedy.
Amazing. Love that track. What I also thought about that going from silence to violence as well is also as a society how quickly we are triggered by everything. I think that's also a very good, I think that's quite possibly what he also might mean to that, right? Is how quickly we are triggered by everything, where we've been indoctrinated to this thought process that we can't just simmer on things, right? Everything needs to happen now, right? So if you get news now, like, instead of waiting 2-3 days because the news might be bullshit, it might be a whole bunch of propaganda and you might want to research a little bit thing, we literally inflames us instantaneously. We don't care if that news is real or not real, or if it's true or not true, or if there's context, or if it's true by omission. It doesn't really matter, right? We want to be angry. We want to be angry with each other, so they'll push that. And then we'll take that, and as opposed to just letting it simmer and to think about it logically, we are being indoctrinated to only give into our feelings, to only give into our emotions, right? To fly off the hinge the moment something offends you, right? Most feelings are throwaway feelings. I say that all the time. Most of your feelings don't fucking matter. They are throwaway, right? But they are trying to indoctrinate, specifically this new generation, that is all that you are. You are this bag of feelings, and that bag of feelings is what defines you. And this is what happens. And this is what happens, is that when something comes out, you are triggered, regardless of nuance, it doesn't matter. You snap straight to violence because you cannot control your emotions. You have no logic. You have no conduit for actually comporting yourself in a measured, stoic manner. There's just no conduit there, because all you are, it's just this bag of nerves and feelings and emotions, and like that matters to anybody. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Fire track, love that. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.